A mother and a father whose baby suffered a near-fatal lung collapse just days after being born a few years back, 9 years ago. They now believe that their daughter really was one of Lucy Letby's potential first victims.
Well, Felicity was born in 2013 at the same hospital that Lucy, we now know, carried out her killing spree only a few years later. So Felicity mercifully survived only because doctors at a different hospital managed to revive her. And Mike and Vicky Whitfield are calling for the police investigation to be widened to include deaths and near deaths of babies in the months leading up to the period Letby was investigated. So much to talk about to you two. Can we start with the thoughts and feelings that you must have been going through on watching the evidence of this case unfold, and whether that, you know, was part of what made you rethink back to those horrific moments when you nearly lost little Felicity?
Yeah, the first sort of moment that it struck home was when Lucy Letby was first arrested in 2018.
You thought, hang on, that's the nurse who looked after ours. Go on.
Yeah, it brought it all home, yeah.
Can you tell us...
Yeah, see, basically, as soon as the...
You carry on, sorry. We've got a bit of a delay on the line, so we'll let you speak.
Apologies. Yeah, it was basically when we seen her picture come on the screen, I just felt sick to the stomach straight away, and I called Mike and I said that was the one that was over her cot that night.
So tell us exactly what happened on the night in question when your lovely little girl, Felicity, suffered a collapsed lung very unexpectedly. Just talk us through it and talk us what you remember seeing Lucy Letby doing and behaving.
Well, basically, it was around 3 o'clock in the morning. I just got, I don't know what, like a mother's instinct to go downstairs to see her. She was doing fine the days before. She was breathing for herself when she was first born. She had a little bit of CPAP just to help her, but she was breathing fine for herself and she was doing great, so much so that the night before, who Mike believes was Lucy Letby, told him to go home and get some rest because he looked tired. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I just had an urge to go down. I went downstairs, I sat by the cot. But as I was walking towards the cot, Lucy was standing over the cot. She just looked up at me and then walked away, and then I walked towards the cot. I sat down, and within seconds, all the beepers started going off and all hell broke loose.
That was the moment that her lung collapsed. Looking now at all the evidence that you'll have been listening to in the prosecution of Letby, and of course she's guilty, what do you think she'd done?
I don't know. I mean, it was a sudden collapse. So we had two suspicions. Either they tried surfactants, which coats the lungs to help her basically breathe, and that wasn't working. So we either thought something had been done with the surfactant, or something's been done that's made her lungs collapse suddenly. Whether that was air or a moving of a tube, we don't know. But something didn't feel right.
Did you have any eerie feelings at the time about Lucy Letby specifically, or, you know, I'm sure your priority was your little one at that point, but did you have any eerie feelings, or did it come later, really, when you found out what had actually been happening?
It was later. It was later on. At the time, it was chaos. That morning of everything happened, our attention was just purely on Felicity. It was only after, retrospectively, when we were looking back, and we just thought something wasn't right. And then, like Vic said earlier on, as soon as we saw her photo come out in 2018, we just started to piece the bits of information that we had and the recollections. Because we don't like to try and think back on it because it was such a harrowing experience. We just tried to put it to the back of our mind until it became a topic of news.
Vicky, I've read that you have said, maybe put it in your own words, if this is not right, that there was something about Lucy Letby's expression when you walked into the room that was chilling, that there was a blankness in a situation that was very critical, that sort of disturbed you a little bit. And of course, now we've heard so much on this programme from psychologists and others about her, about her attitude and her murderous qualities. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was when I was walking down towards the cot when she was doing fine, as we all thought, that when she was... I've got this constant and permanent image in my head of when she was standing over the cot. There was no smile, and when she looked up, it was just a look up and a really blank look on her face, and then she just walked off from the cot. And then for everything to go crazy virtually within what felt like seconds after. It may have been a little bit longer than that, and it was just, I don't know, it's just an image that I can't get out of my head. And as soon as I seen the image on the TV, it was that exact same stare. It was the exact same, the expression, and it just made me sick to the stomach.
Well,
to the thought that it could have been her that did something.
Well, what's really telling about your description of that blankness, in a situation where there shouldn't have been blankness, is it's exactly what another mother of a child who we know definitely was attacked by Lucy Letby, it's exactly what she said. She on one of the rare occasions when a parent came into the room as Letby was going about her devilish business, she said exactly the same thing, that the face was blank, her behaviour, her manner was very controlled, and when she saw the mother, she just walked away. Did Lucy Letby say anything to you subsequently, as they were fighting to keep Felicity alive, and B, after she'd been kept alive and the crisis was over? Did she ever talk to you about it, or did she try and comfort you? What did you think about what she said?
No, as soon as all the alarms went off, she wasn't there. She never came back to try to revive Felicity. It was another nurse that came in and basically pressed the emergency buzzers, and then other nurses came over. After that, after the initial nurse who pressed the buzzer, I'm not sure who the other nurses were that came around, because I went into a bit of a state of shock because I was screamed at to get Mike, because she said, get your husband. And I kind of was in a state of shock, didn't hear, and then she screamed at me, get him now. So everything just completely went crazy after that.
What year was this?
This was 2013.
Couple of years.
Which is in the period, isn't it, that police are now reviewing, widening their review following the conviction, and it's some 4,000 cases they're looking into. Presumably yours will be one of them. Why do you believe that's the right way for the police to go, to review outside of the area where the convictions have so far been secured?
Mainly down to when Felicity was transferred to Arrow Park that morning of the 20th, when she had the lung collapse. We were basically prepared for the worst case scenario. They told us to get Felicity baptised, so we called the grandparents, brought them, and during that morning when she was transferred to Arrow Park, I asked Dr. Oliver Rackman, what are the chances of her survival when we got to Arrow Park? And he said, she'll be fine. She'll be absolutely fine, don't worry about it. And it was that reassurance that we knew something wasn't right at the Countess.
We were
and just in a sentence,
that he actually said she'll be fine after what we've just been through.
And just in a sentence, because we're almost out of time here, did anyone ever explain to you why the lung had collapsed? Did anyone give you a theory as to why that had unexpectedly happened?
No, we called for a meeting back in 2014, I think it was, roughly a year after Felicity had been born, with the Countess, and raised our concerns with them. And we were basically told it's one of them things that sometimes happens in premature babies.
All right. Well, thank you both very much indeed. You tell a compelling story, and I do think that on the balance of probabilities, now we know what we know. I'm sure you're right. Thank you.
And we wish you well with dealing with all of this, because thankfully, Felicity seems happy and well, but of course it must bring so much of it back. So thank you for telling us your story this morning.
And if you're watching and been affected by anything that we've been discussing here, you can get advice, support, itv.com/helplines.